Welcome to The Dental Brief, the podcast that delivers actionable insights and expert strategies to help dental professionals like you grow, lead, and succeed. I'm your host, Patrick Shavasty, the president of Omni Premier Marketing. Every week at The Dental Brief, we bring you real conversations from expert speakers that offer expert advice and quick tips that make a real difference in practices nationwide. Whether you're a general dentist or run a multi-location practice, we've got you covered with content that's designed to help you attract more patients, to streamline your operations, reduce headaches in managing your practice, and increase your profitability. If you're ready to elevate your practice, be sure to subscribe, hit the notifications bell, and let's dive into today's episode of The Dental Brief. Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of The Dental Brief. Excited for today's guest, for today's podcast, for our topic today. Robyn Reis, say hello to everyone.
Hello, everyone.
So for those of you that don't know Robyn works with Dental All-Star Academy. Robyn's been in the industry. We'll talk about your background in just a second, but I know you do a lot of these really fun, awesome HR topics. Actually, you do make it fun. If anyone ever gets a chance to see Robyn speak, I recommend doing so. Robyn, tell us, how'd you start working with dentists in the dental industry? How'd you get here?
Great question, Patrick. And again, thanks for having me on. So my dental story starts like pretty much most people's dental story, and that is I answered an ad by accident. I was responding to a marketing director position for a group practice of 14 dentists with 3 locations who had just kind of done a merger. And they were looking to brand. And my background was in marketing, graphic design, and business. And I knew nothing about dentistry. And they took me on, and thus began my dental journey. And I haven't looked back. I just figured out, I think we talked about this being my 27th year in the field of dentistry. And I'm just having the time of my life.
It's awesome. So 23 years in dentistry, you answered an ad by accident. Here you are. Tell me, how did you end up becoming an expert in all things hiring and all things finding the right candidates, matching the right team members to the right dentist, and so on and so forth? How'd you end up on that path?
I think with my mom as my role model, who was a nurse, and if you were to look in the dictionary, you would see her picture. She just had empathy and care and wanted to help people. And that's kind of what drove me to pursue marketing and dealing with people. And when I began my dental journey, I worked with a lot of people. And I was just curious. And that's how I got my dental education, is sitting in the operatory with a little notebook and asking questions. Then it became, well, if we were hiring somebody for the practice, I would want to look for somebody who was outgoing and bubbly, who had the personality, in addition to the dental skills that were required. And I then, as I progressed through being a practice administrator, working for a dental lab, and working with a coaching company, I got introduced to Ben Erickson and Associates, who are dedicated HR employment compliance for dentists. That's all they do. And I got certified as an HR consultant with them. So I got to know the non-people side, the compliance, the laws, the regulatory requirements to be a dental employer and what that means.
Sure.
And so I kind of combined my people skills with understanding employment law. And thus I get to make employment compliance for fun for dentists.
Yeah.
And that really led me to become the director of hiring service for All-Star, which is also another interesting story. When we had some online training clients asking for help to find administrators for their practice so they could do the online training, I stepped in and said, sure, I'm happy to help you. And Heather Nottingham and I worked very closely together. And that grew to a point where I was probably working with about 12 practices by myself. And I'm like, I can't do this by myself. So we start to grow a team. And here we are, 6 years later, we have a team of 10 hiring specialists, and we continue to grow, and we all love what we do. We're all in the dental field. So we all sat in a seat and
Sure.
understand how a dental practice works. So I
Yeah.
think that's kind of our secret sauce.
Yep. That's awesome. And I know, we always ask our guests, what are challenges they hear practices are facing. And I'm going to throw this one out there. We're not going to talk about hiring shortages. We all know there's a shortage. And I think that's a softball for you. I want to talk about once you have somebody, right? So team members, challenges along those lines. What do you see there? Because if you can keep the team members that you have, you don't have to go out and hire. And that's the ultimate situation, right? Finding the right team member, empowering them in a way that they want to stay, and they do. And I know you help out with that too. So what are some challenges that you're seeing with practices right now and employees in that area?
Well, probably a couple of fold challenges, having the team, keeping them engaged, and understanding that a lot of practices are short staffed. So the burden falls on the people that are still there. So I think having those regular check ins, making sure that people aren't getting burned out, getting them additional resources that they may need, giving them time to step away so they can rejuvenate and kind of recharge their battery is really a lot of the changing challenges that are happening with dental practices. Offering benefits, being able to look your team member in the eye and say, I truly value you. I appreciate your skills. What can I do to help support you? What keeps you waking up every morning and coming into the office? And how can we do more of that? So for dentists, it's really finding that time to sit down 10, 15 minutes, having those one-on-ones just to say, how you doing? Checking their pulse, making sure they're okay and they're breathing, right?
Sure.
And making sure that the culture and the values still align, that if they are starting to feel underwater, if they are starting to feel the stress or the overwhelm, that they can press pause and say, okay, let's see, what can we outsource right now? Do we have to do everything the way we used to when we were full staffed? And here's a little hint, no, you can't. So you have to learn how to be flexible and adjust so that everybody still maintains a healthy work environment.
Yeah. I know when we were chatting a little bit before we started recording, you were telling me a little bit, maybe you could share this about a conversation that you had with a client of yours and surrounding like one of their team members and kind of this always on type of mentality that a lot of employers expect their employees to have. Tell me about that scenario. Tell me what's kind of going on there and how to navigate this.
That's a great question. Great segue, actually. It's this always available trap, right? When we are there to serve other people, and that's what dentistry is, right? It's a people business. We're serving others. Dentistry is what we do. What we often sacrifice is protecting ourselves. And what I mean by that is, setting up boundaries. An example would be, we pride ourselves if a patient texts at 9 p.m., we text back because we feel like this is what service looks like. Or when a team member has a problem or an issue on our day off and they reach out to us, we tell ourselves this is what leadership looks like. And we fall into this trap of always being available and not setting those boundaries. And we get to a point in our practice that we are just losing our energy, and we don't allow ourselves that protection time. And again, what I mean by that is I learned a lesson very early on in my career that vacation isn't a reward for hard work. It's a requirement. We
Hmm.
have to be able to step out of the practice and recharge ourselves. It allows us to have strategic thinking and really focus working on the business because we're so busy in it. So setting those boundaries, I think, is a huge challenge for entrepreneurs like dentists, that we just don't get enough learning around to protect ourselves.
Sure.
And again, that leads to the burnout. That leads to high performing team members saying, "I need to leave for better work life balance." Some of the warning signs are getting that sick feeling in your stomach Sunday nights. It's really paying attention to allowing ourselves space to be creative and work on our business so that we can give our best energy to the most important work, which is taking care of our patients and taking care of our team.
Yeah. So how do you recognize when you've got some problems going on? Like, I think for a lot of people, they don't see things until it's kind of too late, right? Right. They're over the edge already. The fuse is blown or they're, I see this from time to time where, my entire staff quit pretty much, right? Or my entire staff is horrible. And it's usually something going on with the doctor. At that point, it's usually not the team, right? It's the leader, it's the doctor in the practice. So what are some things what are some kind of early signs that, hey, you don't have balance. You're not giving yourself enough me time, recharge time, health time. What do you see there? What's some early onset issues?
The idea I mentioned, and just jotting down some notes in preparation for our podcast today, the two things that jumped out at me immediately when I was thinking about this was that, dread Sunday night, right?
Yeah.
Culture isn't just pretty words on a wall. It's how your team members feel Sunday night, right? When they're coming into work. So if you've got that sick feeling, that's a warning sign. The high performing team members, again, saying, they're leaving because they need more work life balance. That's a warning sign. Team meetings that consistently get canceled because there's patient care appointments that keep, bleeding into that protected meeting time. Your team hesitates to bring up problems because they feel that you have too much on your plate already. And that goes for both office managers and doctors. Your team is looking to your leadership. And if you can't be fully present and have the energy to support them, then yeah, they're going to hold things back. And that's when, wheels start to fall off.
Yeah.
And personal commitments consistently take a backseat to work demands. When you're not present for your family, resentment can build.
Yeah.
And so you do have to set boundaries that allow, again, that strategic time.
Yeah. So this last night, it was either last night or early this morning, I saw a dentist, I believe it was a dentist, posted on a pretty big Facebook group that the post was something along the lines of like, why do I keep hearing the words practice growth so much? Like, why does it need to be like, is that like really important to everybody? And there was a good little debate, and I read some of them. And my take on growth is it looks different for everybody. Everybody's business can kind of look the way that they want it to
Absolutely.
look. Their jobs can look the way they want it to look. And what's right for somebody else isn't right for someone else. I mean, that's fine. And there was one post that said, if you're not growing, you're dying. I got news for you. We're all dying. Like every one of us is dying. But there may be, I think there's seasons. Myself, I think there's seasons within the year. We were talking a little bit about it. It's golf season here in Colorado, right? So I work a little bit less in the summers than I do in the rest of the year. It allows me more time for my hobby, which is a balance that I found when my children were younger. I worked way less than I do now because that growth in my life was more important than business growth in my life. What's your take on growth, employee growth, practice growth, dental growth? What's your take on that, your experience?
Love, love, love that language, Patrick. And you're right. It is defined differently for everybody. What means growth to me is going to mean different growth to you. So when we talk about team member growth, it is enhancing the skills. It's helping them professionally and even personally develop to become, again, that valuable team member, that high performing team member. We don't know what we don't know.
Yeah.
And if you think that you've reached here, then how do you get to here or here or here? You have to have that outward mindset of, I can master all that I have, but what's next? Right? What can I do more, better, different?
Right.
That's what I think of in terms of growth from a team member standpoint. And from a practice standpoint, maybe it's just growth in the amount of services we offer, or it's growth in changing our schedule, adding team members, not adding team members,
Yep.
bringing in a specialist. It doesn't mean growth as in, I want 22 locations. It could be, right? It could
Yeah.
be. Or I want 32 associates. It could be growth in what brings me joy. How can I better serve the people that come to me?
Sure. Yep. And, all of these things, I'm an advocate of coaching. There's a lot of great coaches out there. People know that do refer. All Star Dental Academy is one of the places that I refer to. I think there's some great.
And we thank you for that.
Yeah. And, one of the things that comes up is like, how much does it cost? And, talking offline, I was just in Las Vegas this weekend with my wife. If you go into the Wynn gift shop and buy a Tylenol, there's going to be like 2 or 4 of them in this little bottle, and it's going to be like $18. You can go on Amazon and buy 1,000 Tylenol for $18, right? But the difference is like when you have a really bad headache and you're on vacation, you're going to pay money to take care of that headache. Sometimes coaching does do that, right? Sometimes hiring an expert, yes, it costs you money, but you're paying to eliminate a headache. And I think in the hiring area, I think hiring is the most difficult thing there is in business to do. I think it really is. I think that's what needs to be mastered if you want to really grow and if you want to have a lot fewer headaches. So finding a coach, finding somebody to help work with a practice, what do they need to be seeking? What should they be asking? If it's, whether it's hiring or a practice coach or a one-on-one coach, what are some questions to ask before you engage with someone?
Oh, this is such a huge topic. We could spend hours upon this. But I would say, what is the most successful key factor in that relationship, be it a coaching relationship or a recruiting relationship, is that vision, philosophy, alignment.
Yeah.
The best coaching relationships have like-minded people connected, whereas for hiring, same thing. You want to work with somebody who understands your business and what the needs and the position and the role requires. And so you do have to interview your coaches and your recruiting people. You want to ask the questions, well, what makes you different? What is important to you? How do you work with clients? What do you see as a definition of success? What would your clients say? It's just like referrals and reviews. Those, I think, the number one successful factor is that alignment. There has to be that alignment. I've seen coaching relationships fail miserably, not because of the doctor or the coach. They both were incredibly gifted people. It was, they just didn't mesh together.
Yep.
And I think, like you said, it's important to ask questions to make sure that there's that alignment.
Yep. Makes sense to me. allstardentalacademy.com is the website. If you want to learn more about their services, their solutions on how they help practices, if you need help with Robyn, I know that you guys are incredibly slammed right now, and I don't know how many hiring clients you're taking on right now, but if you need help with hiring, still reach out. If there's a wait list, get on the wait list. Robyn, thank you so much for being here.
Thanks for having me, Patrick.
Thanks for listening to this episode of The Dental Brief. If you found it helpful, give it a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, and share it with a colleague who could benefit. We're here to help dental professionals like you stay ahead of the curve, one brief episode at a time. You can find more episodes and resources at thedentalbrief.com. You can also join the Growth-Minded Dentist community on Facebook. Links are in the description. Until next time, keep learning, keep growing, and thanks for being part of the Dental Brief community.